Good afternoon. I'd like to get straight into our study today. And today I'm jumping into Daniel 8. There's a reason why I'm doing this, because it's so important for us to know certain things. In Daniel chapter 8, in the third year of King Belshazzar, Daniel has a vision again. I want you to notice that it's in the third year of Belshazzar, the grandson of Nebuchadnezzar, that Daniel has this dream. Remember, the dream of Daniel chapter 7 was in the first year. We're now in the third year. Daniel says there in verse 3, I looked up, and there before me was a ram with two horns standing beside the canal, and the horns were long. One of the horns was longer than the other, but grew up later. I want you then to notice in verse 5, as I was thinking about this, suddenly a goat with a prominent horn between his eyes came up from the west, crossing the whole earth without touching the ground. He came towards the two-horned ram I had seen standing beside the canal, and charged at him in great rage. I saw him attack the ram furiously, striking the ram and shattering its two horns. The ram was powerless to stand against him. The goat knocked him to the ground and trampled on him, and none could rescue the ram from his power. The goat became very great, but at the height of his power, his large horn was broken off, and in its place 4 prominent horns grew up towards the 4 winds of the earth. I want you to notice that we need to know what's going on. Who is this ram-like beast, and who is this goat-like beast? We don't have to guess. Daniel chapter 8 verse 20 says, and it's the angel that is telling Daniel what's going on. He says there, the two-horned ram that you saw represents the kings of the Media and Persians. The shaggy goat is the king of Greece. Dear friends, here we have, revealed to us by God himself, the history of nations. The head of gold was Babylon. The chest, as we've just found out, is Media Persia. The belly and waist of bronze is Greece. It's so interesting that out of the 4 beasts, the lion is Babylon, the bear is Media Persia, and the leopard-like beast is Greece. The 4th beast is the iron one. What was the next kingdom to follow? We know, if you look at history, that the next kingdom to follow was the kingdom of the pagan Roman Empire. It was the last kingdom to rule the world in totality. After this kingdom, the world was going to be controlled by kings, by kingdoms. Nations were going to fill this earth, not just one kingdom anymore. And it's during the reign, just when this is about to happen, this division is about to happen, that God sets up his kingdom. This is so important to understand, because in Daniel chapter 9, we are going to be introduced as to what God really did when he came to planet Earth. How did he set up his kingdom? And to do that, I want to go to Daniel chapter 9, and I'm going to read verse 34. 77s are decreed for your people and for your holy city, to finish transgression, to put an end to sin, to atone for wickedness, to bring in everlasting righteousness, to seal up vision and prophecy, and to anoint the most holy. Dear friends, why do we need to know what God has done in this time? Because just after that, we read some very interesting things about this little horn. This little horn tries to destroy what God has done. It says there, if you look at Daniel chapter 7, verse 24, the 10 horns are 10 kings who will come from this kingdom. After them another king will arise, different from the earlier ones. He will subdue 3 kings. He will speak against the Most High and oppress his saints and try to change the set times and the laws. The saints will be handed over to him for times and a half a time. In Daniel chapter 8, we are told this about the little horn. Verse 9, out of one of them came another horn. This is out of the 4 horns. which started small but grew in power to the south and to the east and towards the beautiful land, a capital B there for beautiful. It grew until it reached the host of heavens, and it threw some of the starry hosts down to the earth and trampled on them. It set itself up to be great as the Prince of Hosts. It took away the daily sacrifice from him, and the place of his sanctuary was brought low. Because of rebellion, the hosts of the saints and the daily sacrifice were given over to it. It prospered in everything it did, and truth was thrown to the ground. Dear friends, what is it that this horn is doing? We will only understand what he's doing when we have understood what God had done when he established his kingdom during the pagan Roman Empire. In our next few studies, I'm going to discuss what God did when he sent his Son to this world, why God loves this world, how was he planning to save it. That will be our next study, because the horn would like to break this all down. May God bless you today as we recognize that God loves us.